Okay, so this is still section 2.4, but now another type of deductive reasoning is law of syllogism. So what is the law of syllogism? Well, the law of syllogism allows you to state a conclusion. So we're going to come up with some conclusion from two conditional statements. So two if-then statements, with the conclusion of one statement is the hypothesis of another. So in other words, we have two if-then statements. One conclusion matches the other hypothesis, and then we go from there. So in terms of that PQ nonsense, I keep trying to bring it up because you may see it. It's saying that if P arrow Q is true and Q arrow R, so now we have three variables, then we can just take out Q altogether and say that P arrow R is true. Okay. Again, over here in the box, I want to point out that law of syllogism is two if-then statements. So detachment was an if-then statement and just a regular statement. Law of syllogism is two if-thens. So I kind of remember that between the two, syllogism has two L's, and I have two if-then statements. It's the best I got for you. Alright, so example 1. Our directions are still the same, asking us what can we conclude from the given information. Well, excuse me, let me back up. This is the given information. If a figure is a square, then the figure is a rectangle. Second statement. If a figure is a rectangle, then the figure has four sides. So I recommend using highlighters or boxing underline method if you don't have colors, colored pencils, crayons, something. Okay, so what you need to do is kind of identify your hypothesis and conclusion. So the hypothesis of the first one is if a figure is a square, and then your conclusion is the figure is a rectangle. Now, whenever you're identifying hypothesis and conclusions, if you have the same statement, then use the same color. So if I go to statement 2, it says if a figure is a rectangle. Well, notice in statement 1 that was pink. The figure is a rectangle. So we're going to keep that pink. And then the conclusion says the figure has four sides. Since we have not talked about that, we're going to use a green. The figure has four sides. So in order to use the law of syllogism, these two colors, hold on, I'm trying to get a different color I haven't used. Okay, this middle stuff needs to be the same color. So the conclusion of your first statement needs to match the hypothesis of your second statement. If it does, essentially what you're doing is just taking out that part and writing what you have left. So in this case, your conclusion would be if a figure is a square, then the figure has four sides, because once you took out that middle matching stuff, that's all you were left with. So now, same directions. I want you to try this one. Okay, so with this one, your two statements were if you do gymnastics, then you are flexible. Your second statement, if you do ballet, then you are flexible. So again, we want to go through and highlight hypothesis and conclusion. So this one is you do gymnastics, then you are flexible. Okay, so then if you do ballet, we have not talked about that one, so that's going to be its own color. Then you are flexible. Now that one we've said before, which we used pink, so then you are flexible. So remember what I said, law of syllogism is the stuff in the middle has to be the same color. Okay, is you are flexible and you do ballet the same color and the same statement? No, they are not. So actually in this one, since your middle statements don't match, then you can't make a conclusion using the law of syllogism. Okay, so if your middle statements, your first if-then's conclusion, your second if-then's hypothesis, if they don't match, then you can't use syllogism to make a conclusion. Okay, that's video 2 of 3, so move on to the last one.